Hi, Sinomtha. Thank you for being with us today. I mean, today we are going to be talking to Sinomtha. She is a trailblazing woman, and every Friday we're going to be featuring trailblazing women. She has a remarkable story. This lady, by the age of 22, she already had her master's done and dusted. And then she goes on by the age of 23 to become an advocate. Let me tell you, she is most probably still the youngest advocate to ever be admitted into a bar in South Africa. So, Sinomtha, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Yolanda.
Yeah,
it's an honor to be here.
Thank you. I mean, it's like for us, we're super excited to have you here. You have a fascinating story. You know, I mean, a lot of people were just kids and playing around at university by the time you were an advocate. Tell us a little bit more about your journey. How did it happen?
About my journey, okay. So I knew I always wanted to be a lawyer. That's after realizing that I'd never be a kwaito dancer, which is my passion.
You're a kwaito dancer turned advocate.
Yes, and my mom would have none of it. My mom is central in the story, but also law played a big role in my life. Without going into details, but just, you know, having an uncle who was a lawyer, quite a prominent one from the Eastern Cape in my life. My parents divorced, having to travel between Ciskei and Transkei and having to come across, you know, your patrol border personnel, you know, soldiers who would be there and be asking who's in the car, who's not in the car, and speaking to your parents as though they're kids. And so it was always a part of my life. It was this niggling thing that I had to do. And so I basically brought my dream to fruition. I studied accordingly. And that's how I got to where I eventually got to, which is my master's. That's through studying. And at that stage, I was I think from my penultimate year of varsity, I was quite clear that I want to be a lawyer, but I don't want to be an attorney per se. And I was clear about the fact that I wanted to be an advocate. And that's how the journey sprung. The funny part is I had to school my parents about why they had to pay for what is now looking like a 6th year, because I'm going to practical legal training, which is pupillage. It doesn't pay you, you have a mentor and you sit there and you write the bar exams and you become an advocate. At the time, I even had to teach myself about what it is, because even our universities are geared towards producing attorneys as opposed to advocates. And also that brought about mystery about what is an advocate? What do they do? What is this thing that we're not being taught about? And why are they, you know, dressed in white and black, you know? So it's a dream from a very young age to get into where I eventually got to at the age you stated.
Yeah. So, by the way, I mean, was it just the injustices of the system and the like that actually drove you, or were you always passionate about education? I wanted to get out of varsity as soon as I could, right, and start working. So, and when I hear people who actually finished varsity stayed on and did all these other things, I mean, it's so for me it's very different. Okay, tell us why did you do that?
Look, it's a combination. The first is the passion. The passion was because of the injustices, what I saw. My parents divorced at a very young age. I needed to understand what is this thing that has the power to separate my parents. You know, I needed to understand what it meant when my parents were attending court. I needed to understand what it meant for that border patrol officer asking my father to come out and open the boot and check who's in, who's not. There's that part. But then there's the second aspect, which I think is fundamental, which is the support system. My support system are my parents, and importantly, my mom. My mom is all about education. She has a zest, passion, and you name it for education. So she always drummed it in us. And so as I speak to you now, we as a family have never stopped really pursuing further studies, you know, whether linked to law or not. This goes to my brother, you know, just generally as a family, there's this kick towards, you know, learning more, wanting to understand more. So, of course, my friends left me at 4th year and they went and they became article clerks. And they took me out for lunch, right? Because I'm still doing my master's, okay? And of course, that was a bit of a, it wasn't a nice feeling. It wasn't. And there were parties. I mean, my Lord, so there was all of that. But I was clear about the fact that I didn't want to do articles. I did back work and I was offered articles and I declined, saying I wanted to pursue my master's. I pursued my master's in areas of law that I'm very passionate about, which I have a specialized LLM in labor law, collective and individual, as well as telecoms and advanced contract. But those are things that I'd loved just during my undergrad. And I knew from, as I say, my penultimate year that I'm not going to do articles. I knew that I wanted to be an advocate, this mysterious professional that is sitting at the bar and not sitting at your top 5 law firms. And so that was enough prize for me to sacrifice that 2 years if you add the pupillage and being on the back foot of your peers, But for me, it's a mixture of both. It's not just the one. One is passion through injustices. The other is having the love of education being instilled in you as a person, and understanding that that's the key to anything you want to do. So I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, from what I'm hearing, you're saying focus is important, passion, and then following your passion was what drove you, and determination, right? I mean, you know, at any time you could have opted out and you decided, no, this is what I actually wanted to do. And I mean, you mentioned your mom in terms of people around you that are there, that were there to actually support you. You mentioned your uncle as well. Were there other people that actually got you to where you ultimately were as an advocate?
Yes, but before I answer that, let me just add one more thing to the issue, or rather the pertinent aspects that you mentioned: drive, passion, determination, perseverance, and so forth. Very important to understand in that journey, at the beginning of it, is accepting the sacrifice you're going to have to take. So at that young age, when all your friends are excited about partying and you too are excited about it, you've already been exposed to it through, you know, university life, you must be clear about what it is that you're trying to get out of it. As I say, being left by your friends back at university, they come see you at varsity. I mean, that takes away a lot from you. But if you're clear about where you're going, then, you know, the sacrifice is but just collateral damage. So you then ask me about, sorry, remind me again.
The people around you.
People around you, you need a support base. The friends are even important. I'm going to start, look, there's a hierarchy, of course, family. And I think I've given an indication of that. First and foremost is family. They need to kind of share your dream, your vision. They need to be as inspired as you are, because the journey is long, it's tiring. There's a lot of fatigue and exhaustion, and through that comes a lot of annoyance. So once you have shared the dream, you need that kind of source support. The second is, of course, peers that you've studied with at law, studied law with, people who are ahead of you. But in the main, you need mentors. And luckily, at the bar, as you're doing, you also, as you get appointed to be part and parcel of the pupillage, they assign you a mentor. There are 2, 3 in particular advocates that I look up to and have helped shape the sort of professional I am. My mentor was Sanet van Aswegen. What a wonderful lady. She took me in as a baby, and she understood that I felt young, and my youthfulness was also a source of, what is it called? It was a self-esteem issue for me. You know, at the bar, everyone is old. I mean, all my colleagues were at least twice my age and far beyond that. Secondly is Barry Rue. He acted as my father at the bar, assisted me in the softer skills. So Sanet was technical. Barry was the softer skills, being able to just manage yourself, your practice, understanding how to deal with colleagues. And I had Myron Durans, who is now also a friend, but also a mentor, introducing me to the sort of law that I've since fallen in love with, you know, which became my practice. He was the first one to expose me to that kind of law, which is a lot of it has to do with state-owned entities and trying to find means of compliance and ensuring that they are steady and accord with the relevant principles. So there's that. But also importantly at the stage is choosing the right friends. I can't stress that enough. You need friends. It's all good to have friends that are socially equipped to entertain you and the like. But you also have to have the sort of friends or circle of persons that are ambitious in their own disciplines or in the same discipline, it doesn't matter, but there is this yearning for a better tomorrow, this yearning of being a better person, this yearning. So it goes beyond the boys and the, the good times. It's actually about, you know, one day I actually want to open my own, you know, I want to be a gynecologist, you know, I think I'm going to go back to school. That kind of friend you want to stick with, because that kind of friend shares, albeit different, but they've got this drive of wanting more. So yes, support base is very important. You can never run that race alone. It's impossible. I can say that. And yes, of course, you can pray. Yes, of course, we have all sorts of spiritual realms which can assist us in the journey in terms of sustenance and maintenance. But in terms of living the actual dream, you've got to have people who are close to you, who support your dream. You must be clear about it. You must be honest about it, transparent about it, because it's only through that that you get the sort of support that you need in order to endure the journey.
Wow. So basically hard work. However, the peers that you have are just as important. You mentioned someone like Barry Rue. You know, we only got to know him through the Pistorius case. So, and yes, we all admire him, right? And you had someone like him as a mentor. Tell us, what is the one thing you would say that you learned from him? Just one, not 10, just one.
My Lord. Yeah. The man he knows, he is such a practitioner and a jurist. And his power is in the humility with which he delivers it. Yeah. So there's this concept that advocates and jurists have got to be, shall I say, overly confident or arrogant, and they must come across as such. He plays differently to that. And I think that's his bite, that's his power, and how he allows you into making you feeling comfortable and then, you know, kind of dealing with you. That's the one thing. The second thing is just the man's expertise in being able to carve a path in the darkest of cases. Look, what he did in the Oscar Pistorius story, yes, the guy ended up in jail, and that's how the public sees it. And some will see it as a loss by Oscar Pistorius, but I must tell you, that was just amazing work. You know, he has an ability to question common sense using the law. So he doesn't do the big, you know, melodramatic and grandstanding. He doesn't do that. He zones into the person, and then he takes you, the commoner, the layman, the younger advocate, the senior, junior advocate, and he says, come along with me on this journey. And the way he portrays his case, it's a marvel to watch. So the one thing I've learned from him is articulation. Number two, simplicity in articulating a case, because even the judge must have some figment of what you're saying that is real. Yeah, that's what I'd say I took away from.
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, you've had amazing mentors, and that's sort of an amazing story just on its own. You know, I would love to pick your brain at another time on that story. And then maybe, I mean, tell us a little bit, what would you have done differently in your life? If you actually said now, you were sitting with your 21-year-old self, you know, just before actually doing your master's, just before actually going into privilege, and before becoming an advocate, what would you actually tell yourself?
Pay more attention to yourself. Mental health is important. You will get the recognition, you will get the rewards of your journey. It just does not necessarily have to be at the expense of your own well-being, and I mean it in a globular way, in the sense that you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to take time out. You've got to avoid burning out. You've got to stop being fearful of taking leave or going away for fear that someone else is going to take your attorney. You've got to, in order for the engine which drives the stream of yours to run, you have got to take time out to take care of yourself. There's a lot of self-reflection that's involved. There was a time when my practice took over me. It became bigger than me. Yes. And at some stage, I had difficulties reining it back in order to deal with me. So at some stage, I lost the pace. So instead of me determining the pace of my practice, it then determined mine. And I then fell for the trap of not being able to say no. No, I'm not taking this case, it's too big, I'm busy. I've got 5 other matters that I'm running. I've got senior counsels that I am a junior to. And it's actually okay that I miss out on this one, because that becomes a snowball. And by the time you wake up and you realize you actually have been fatigued, you have been burning out, but you've been carrying that through, thinking that, of course, I'm chasing my dream. Adrenaline is pushing you, passion is pushing you, but you're actually tired. The second thing I would say is, naturally, it's, and I'm sorry to say this, but historically, it's always been a white boys club, sort of, and it still is a predominantly a male-dominated fraternity. And naturally, when you come in at 22, 23, okay, you are not there to exactly change the way things are done. You are there to join the boys club. So you start being part of the boys club and forgetting about you. So you start playing the game and trying to be a male-driven female in order to fit in. And I found that extremely tiring. That was extremely exhausting. And you need to take comfort in who you are and the fact that you're here on merit. No one has done you any favors. And be you in it. So I had, I went in and I applied a lot of makeup because I wanted to look older. I wanted to get the respect of my peers, and my clients were all older than me. And I wanted to get this sense of integrity, dignity, and the like, and I wanted respect, right? But in doing that, I wasn't being truly me right at the beginning. It's only towards, as I plateaued in understanding how this, the fraternity works, the profession works, how we work together as colleagues, as counsel. It was only at a very late stage that I was like, no, this is Sinomtha. And today I want to go in an afro. I'm tired of a weave, because I'm trying to look a specific way in order to gain certain respect. I'm trying to speak in a certain way. I'm trying to be harsh. There's a lot of swearing between lawyers. You start getting those habits as well. And just saying, but no, this is not me. Why am I playing into the old boys club terms of reference? I've got my own terms of reference. Yes. And it's okay that I want to deal with it in this manner. And no, I'm not going to take this matter because it does not sit well with who I think I am as a professional, So knowing yourself, investing in yourself, taking time out for yourself, and also playing your game, running your race in your own lane, at your own, in your own style and at your own pace. And that's really what it is. I wouldn't have placed as much pressure as I did on myself, and I wouldn't have ignored many niggles that says, you need time out. Take the holiday off. Stop taking urgent matters that go to court during, December, where some person is taking the child overseas without the other, without the spouse's consent. And I would leave Cape Town on holiday to run to court to go deal with that matter. It's not that serious. You can actually take time out so that you can start the year well, and I did a lot of faltering insofar as that is concerned. I mean, I had years running into years without having to take a break until much later. So I would be kinder to myself.
No, thanks for sharing that, because I think it's important. A lot of go-getters don't actually understand when to say no, when to stop, right? When to actually reflect and say, no, I need to fill my cup right now, not yours. And so I'm glad you're sharing this, because it is something that is really important for women out there to actually know that it's okay to take time off. It's okay to actually fill your own cup. It's okay to still say, I'm ambitious and I can take time off. Because we actually have this exclusion mindset that says, if I'm a go-getter, then I cannot take time.
Yes.
I have to be always present and so on. So thanks for actually sharing that. So right now, tell me succinctly, what advice would you give any woman that is listening to this right now?
I suppose if I'm going to extrapolate from my story, I will take off on the tail end of taking care of oneself in the process of running the race. Secondly, being ambitious does not take away from having a personal life. And I mean a personal life to your heart's desire, you know. But most importantly, as you go for your dream, just remember to be you in it. I can't stress that enough. That's what sustains you, because passion, determination, and all of those things are all great. They'll get you there. But what is going to sustain you in your dream is being able to see yourself in the dream, not see someone else. Must not see Yolanda in the dream. I must see myself, therefore interpret your dream in your way. Don't do it Yolanda's way. Don't do it Sinomtha's way. Your way is the best way, because that will be able to sustain you, because that's your reality. That's where you're genuine. That's your core. That's your soul. That's who you are. So I always say, you know, try and choose or make decisions that are closest to you than not. So even if you are inspired by one person's story, take it, absorb it, make it yours, and see how you fit in it, because that's what's going to sustain what you want to do. The other important aspect, which we don't deal with enough, is the importance of sharing your knowledge, skill, expertise with like-minded persons, and also being available to people who ask you questions. Some of them are irritating because you've heard them about 20 times, but you don't know that one of those questions, one of those, inquirers, you could change their life by just imparting or just giving them 5 minutes of your time. Before I did what I did, which I'm about to share in terms of sharing, knowledge sharing, I used to think it's quite burdensome, to kind of mentor someone or the like. And luckily for me, I was chosen. I have 3 advocates who have qualified under me. All 3 are Black females. They did their privilege with me. And I tell you, when I used to see them in court, and twice they were my opponents, I can't tell you what that feeling is like. She's wearing her robes. You admitted as an advocate. She was in your chambers for a whole year. You marked her mock exams. She follows you everywhere. And then she goes and she writes those bar exams and she passes. And then next year, she is your colleague. The following year, she's your opponent. And you're sitting there and you almost want to say, how dare you? And you watch them, but it's almost like watching a part of yourself and play. I can't, it doesn't matter how important, whether they leave law or they leave the law in terms of being advocates that they are, and they join other organizations and they do something linked to law, but not necessarily practicing. That pride never goes away. And I stay in touch with all of them. It's something that I've learned since having done it 3 times, that it's an immeasurable feeling, and those people are forever grateful to you. And it's only then that it starts sinking in you, your contribution to society, the impact that you've had. So it's not just an impact because, I'm the youngest Black female. No, it's not. It's actually living impact, where someone now is standing there and they are feeding a family and they are good at what they do. You taught them well enough and they're standing on their own and they're running with it. That's
that's an amazing way to actually close it. So basically, this month the Mentorship Boardroom is actually doing mentoring and is encouraging mentors to sign up in order for the general public to be able to get in contact with them in order to make this kind of difference. And I'm so glad you ended on that note, okay? Because I think it's so important, because for me, it's not, a lot of people say it's paying it forward. It actually is not paying it forward. It's actually planting a seed. Because a seed grows, right? And it can grow beyond what its former self was. So you're actually planting a seed. and then you're toiling the soil, right?
Yes.
And you're saying, I want a better outcome for you than I even have.
Yes.
You know, and that's what actually would lead Africa to have even better leaders actually going forward. So Sinomtha, I mean, it has been absolutely privileged actually talking to you. I mean, you know, you actually shared some real gems that each and every one of us, in order to get to where we're going, we actually have to have the passion for it, and it must be purpose-led. You know, we must have this thing inside us, that the fire that just doesn't stop burning, because there are times when you are called upon, because there will be roadblocks, you know, you actually have to have the resilience. You actually have to actually build the ecosystem around you that will actually help you to be able to get to where you want to still go. Because there are times when you're tired, there are times when you feel discouraged, you know, and it's nice to hear that from someone like you, who's been an overachiever and a real trailblazer at it. You know, I'm really glad that you're actually also talking about how you brought others into the fold, and actually watching them grow is actually such a fulfilling experience, because everyone always says, no, women have this PhD, you know, and to hear your story around just how you pulled other women up, not down, is really, really encouraging. So thanks for sharing with us, and thanks for not being a kwaito dancer, please. You know, we wouldn't have had this trailblazer that is you. So thank you very much for making the time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. I enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you signed up for the Mentorship Boardroom as a mentor. I'm giving it there.
going to go on now as you get off.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Cheers.
Bye.